Hello guys, it's Peter from PS Sound, and in this short walk around video I'm going to explain to you what we did and what we had to change in this GTR that came to us with an existing system. And I thought to take a video of it, not because it's a fancy crazy system that people usually see from us from PS Sound, but because I know that this is the type of car that many people either have as a dream car or would like to have as a dream car. And of course, the full package, having a dream car on the road, to me comes with a great audio system too. But these cars seriously struggle having audio in them. The factory system is just, I don't even know what to call it. But to have a custom system in these, it's equally very challenging. So I thought to run around what's in it and what we have changed. So the car from factory comes with a three-way front end, this model, and yes, it's great that it has at least a dedicated mid-range behind the handle. It's still better than not having the mid-range and just having a 6.5 there and a tweeter in the sail panel. But yeah, those locations are not really ideal. If you want to keep it OEM, you are limited on what size tweeter you can put to the sail panel. You're also limited by the location. For the mid-range it's a bit restricted, but as I say, it's still better to have it than not having it. So currently the owner has a Focal Flex three-way system in it, which the car came with, but we had to do some extra work because the door has such a big service hole with just a weatherproofing layer that kills the bass. And we had to cover that with deadening and many layers of deadening. Actually, when he did it, I didn't even realize how much deadening he had to add to it to stiffen that up. It's almost like he would have to use an aluminium sheet on the inner skin to cover that area to really give it stiffness on the inner skin. Then of course the door card had to be treated, fully covered, put absorber on it, check all the little, little bits to isolate everything not to buzz, because Japanese cars are really well known for buzzes and rattles. Also, these cars have so minimal sound treatment in them because they have to save weight, and even that way the car is pretty heavy. So if you want to stick to OEM, you have to use locations, but I would advise to go at least semi-active, what we are running now, or if you can justify doing the extra labor to pull the cables, extra cables into the door to run fully active, then you can control the mid-bass, the mid-range and the tweeter of a DSP, and then you can set everything up. But even running semi-active, which means that between the mid-range and the tweeter you have a crossover, it's still very sufficient to run it that way, as opposed to full passive, where you have a passive crossover between all three speakers each side. So this way, if we run semi-active, we can control the mid-bass, we can set up time alignment between mid-bass and the mid, which is where your ears are the most sensitive. And then, yes, now we can't set up time alignment between mid and tweet, but over there in a higher register, especially where the mid-range crosses to the tweeter, your ears are not that sensitive to timing and phase, rather to level, and then you can fix that with the DSP if you know how to tune. So we made pretty drastic difference compared to what the car came with, even that way. And of course the extra soundproofing that we had to put into the door, which comes with the weight penalty, sadly. Then you also have the option, like the owner had, he purchased this subwoofer solution from America. There's a company that specializes in those sub boxes, and he already had that in the car too, with two 8-inch Morel subs in a sealed enclosure. And it looks nice, it comes with stitching, red stitching, not white stitching like the rest of the car, but it doesn't matter. It looks like it was meant to be there, although on a second viewing I would probably take it apart and have a look at the structural strength of it, how rigid it is, how it's mounted. But that's not the biggest problem in these cars. The biggest problem is that these rear quarter panels, the C-pillars, and any trim panel in this car is so rattly that if you want to enjoy bass, it doesn't matter what sub you have, whether you have 1, 2, or you have a sub in the trunk trying to play into the cabin from the trunk. it's rattling so badly that you can't enjoy anything. Like the roof, okay, this is carbon. So now you added a carbon roof because you wanted to save weight, but then that flexes, the trim panel underneath it flexes. So without adding crazy amount of weight, you will have to strip all the trim panels and then isolate everything. Use a lot of foam, a lot of absorber material, and then just make sure that no hard surface touches hard surface, because these plastics are just, honestly, just horrible. Everything in this car is buzzing like crazy. And that's one of the reasons why many people think that, you know, is it worth to put audio system in this, plus you want to hear the engine? And I agree. Any sport car having nice exhaust noise, it's for listening to the performance of the car. However, and this is the part where I could have an argument about it, that's cool, but not for 2, 3 or like a 10-hour drive. Because when you are on the motorway idling, you know, cruising along, doing, in UK we have 70 miles an hour speed limit, if anybody drives with that. But you know, then you want to have a bit of music, you want to enjoy your music, and that's where soundproofing is important. Yes, you may add, with the soundproofing of the doors and sorting out the back end that we haven't done, but as I mentioned, we are planning to do that as a second stage, and when we do that, hopefully we can share another video with you guys. Then overall, I would say easily 20 kilo soundproofing needs to go into the car, which 20 kilo, okay, in a car like this where people fight even saving 5-10 kilos here and there by changing seats, brakes, hood, panels, you know, the roof and all those things, 20 kilo can also be saved by, I don't know, some people could look at their diet and lose a bit of weight that way too, which sounds now pretty drastic, but that's the reality. If you track the car, it matters. If you just use it for daily, then I wouldn't worry about it that much. So that's the speaker situation. Other than we also have rear speakers that we also integrated, and then we set them up running either normal rear field or differential rear field that some people hear us talking about. Basically, with a good DSP, we can set up the rear speakers that they don't play mono signal. They only play the stereo content, and this way they you could call them as effect speaker. They play like effect speakers, and it creates a larger room size in the car, gives more ambience, and it doesn't screw up your front stage where you have good imaging and staging. At the back end, so this is where many people also like to keep it OEM looking, fully practical, you don't see anything. But the thing is, in these cars, you cannot hide anything behind the panels or under the floor. There's just literally no room or whatsoever. So the only solution that we came up with, and we also had to be effective, was to, let me take this trim panel away, then you can see what we've done. So we mounted a board on the aluminium panel that goes across, and it has a ski hatch where some people use that ski hatch to have a subwoofer here in the trunk and play straight into the cabin, which I would highly advise to anybody. Yes, it's pretty well-known factor that if you have a sub in the trunk, then the trunk boosts a lot. It gives so much cabin gain that you get way more bass with even a small subwoofer that pumps into the cabin, and that part is okay in most of the cars, not in this. Mainly because of the tailgate and the wing. The wing on the tailgate is enemy number one, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's gonna rattle so badly in most cases that it's just not worth the hassle to have a sub in the trunk playing into the trunk. You rather want to isolate the sub and then let it play through the ski hatch and not have any pressure entering the trunk, because yeah, it's just gonna make your life very, very difficult. So that's where that substructure that is on the other side, that kind of works from that respect, because it just plays in the cabin and no bass gets into the trunk, especially now because we added an extra board, and and we bolted it on to points where we could tap into the aluminium and create threaded inserts. Well, we tapped it and then we could use machine bolts. You can see one there, there's one underneath the amp, and there are two here underneath this amp. So we are using a Helix P6 Ultimate, which is a 6-channel amplifier with 12-channel DSP. Yes, we didn't need so many DSP channels. However, we want it to be future-proof, so we can still add amplifier channels to it if we want. And also, the main reason why we wanted this is because the owner had a FiO player, and then he wanted full digital connection to the P6, which has coax input. So this way, with the 6 channels, we are running 4 channels for the front doors, 2 for the mid bass pair, and then 2 for the mid and tweed pair. As I mentioned earlier, we run that semi-active. And then we use an RCA output into the Helix M1X, which runs the subwoofers, and it's simple as that. Simple wiring, easy to see through it. That's where the main power cable comes in. You have 2 fused outputs, and then we still have 2 outputs for potential future extension if we wanted. However, finding more space here is tricky. That's how this car is now. Just, I don't know, for simplicity it just works so great that we put the panel back, which is velcroed on each side, and then it's all hidden. We don't have to worry about the heat either, because the amplifiers are Class D and they don't dissipate much heat. Also on the top of the panel they can breathe a little bit and around it, so we shouldn't have any issue with it like that. So that's the amplification layout, and then let me also show you what's happening with the sources, because that's another thing that people struggle with in these cars. So the owner wanted to utilize the factory head unit, which actually has many options for playback. It has CD, it has built-in storage, it has many things, and it doesn't sound great when you use the speaker level outputs from the factory amp, which is located on the passenger side, in our case in a right-hand driven car. Hang on a second, these cars don't even come in a left-hand driven version, do they? Jimmy, do they make these in left-hand driven version? I don't know. Jimmy, our friend, is in the workshop as well, I don't know. So if you use the speaker level outputs from the factory amp and you have to mix the input of all the speaker outputs into an aftermarket DSP, yeah, that's not going to be great quality. However, from this head unit to the factory amp, there's low level signal running, but it doesn't have volume control. It's fixed line out. But if you utilize that, put RCAs on it, then you can feed that into your DSP or DSP amp like we did, and that gives really good quality signal. So just taking left and right from the head unit, and if we don't play the FiO, if I pause it, then it automatically takes over and it plays music from the head unit. I'm not going to play it loud because these days YouTube is an absolute killer when it comes to copyright, and it bans all the videos as soon as they detect any music, which is a bit of a pain. I know many people would like to hear what it sounds like. We have many demo videos. Please check out our demo playlist and you can hear many cars. If they are still allowed to be played, and you can still watch them, because I get notifications from week to week that, hey, another video of yours that you shared 3-4 years ago now is banned. It's really annoying. So I have to figure out what I can play that doesn't get copyright ban on YouTube anymore. But, you know, that can play, automatically switches over. We don't have to change anything. We can also utilize this controller for the FiO. I just pressed pause play. This is something I've never seen before, but the owner has this FiO big high resolution player that runs out on coax, as I mentioned, with that cable. And it has 2 USB-Cs. So in this USB-C we have data connection, and we can simply just run to that. We had to hide the cable underneath the trim panel, and then this way now we can control tracks. We can advance tracks, we can go back, we can go forward, and we can go pause. Unfortunately this is now deactivated for volume because we run on coax, and on coax it's full digital output, 0 dB output, so we can't control volume, but that's what the conductor is for. And now it looks like the system went to sleep. Great, I wanted to show the operation of the conductor, but here we can control volume, bass level, we can control the rear field level, and we can change presets. We had to create different presets for this car, especially because, yeah, many people say that you don't need different presets. However, most people don't realize that mastering can be so different depending on what music you listen to, that sometimes one preset just doesn't do it. You can have a beautiful, accurate tune on a system, and very well recorded music will sound amazing. But when you go to something, maybe let's say rock music, most of rock songs can be pretty harsh and really thin on the bass, then you need different settings. Or like the owner listens to a fair amount of Indian music, then yeah, those have also a very characteristic way of mastering and the way they sound. So we created different presets for that, especially because those songs can be pretty hot, between 2 and 6K, very harsh. And that was one of the problems with this system before, that it was unbearable. He couldn't turn it up above 85 dB, but then that's not enough. I mean, he could turn it up, it could go loud, but it was so harsh that he just couldn't listen to any of his music. Yes, we could have kept the previous amplifier he had in the car and just get it tuned, but then he was pretty firm that he wanted a change, and he wanted the Helix because he knows how much better results we can get with it. And that's why we changed it, not that the previous amplifier had any problem really. But a lot depends on the tune. So we have different presets for the owner, plus he can also control bass level and high frequency level with that little controller with the Helix conductor, because there's tone control on it. And then if a song has too much brightness, too much top end, he can knock it down with the tone control. Or if he needs more bass, he can turn it up, and then this way he controls all the speakers, everything, the whole system together. Not just like most times people just turn up the bass, but then by turning up the bass, you screw up the alignment between the front mid-bass speakers and the subwoofer. The crossover point is going to change, the alignment is going to change. Plus, if you just raise the subwoofer at the back, that's just going to give you more buzz and more rattle. So yeah, that's going to be the next stage for us when we will sort out the back end, which is going to take a lot of time because it's literally full strip out, both seats, the whole back end, all the panels, and then a lot of faff. And that's the part where that was the main reason to share this video with you guys, because if somebody wants a simple audio upgrade in these, I don't think it's worth doing it. If you do it, you have to do it right, and then you have to do everything properly. You need good gear, you need a lot of soundproofing, and that's where you just can't have dreams to have a system that's gonna, you know, easily run just on a low budget. It can't happen. It can't happen. We are happy to help anybody with the GTR, but you just have to be ready that it's gonna take serious work and probably easily like 50-60 hours of labor minimum to build anything acceptable in these cars without going absolutely crazy. Of course, people know we do custom door enclosures, we fit speakers in custom locations, we do custom pillars, dashboard builds, and we put speakers where we want them to be for optimal performance. But of course, in a car like this, you have to respect making the car or keeping the car OEM looking, not to cut everything out of it. But then, yeah, it needs really clever planning and a lot of attention to detail, a lot of tender loving care to get these cars sound acceptable. So this is it for this video, guys. Hopefully you liked it. Check out the playlist that will pop up at the end of the video for some of those demo playlists, and then other explanation videos. And hopefully we can deliver more videos for you guys that you can get inspiration from or ideas from. And then you can also hear these cars. I have to mention, I should have mentioned at the beginning of the video, we have meetings coming up in Brighton in UK. It's only like an hour and a half from London, at Brighton Marina. We have a meeting point You can check out the events on our PS Sound Facebook page. Even if you don't have Facebook, you can just search for PS Sound on Facebook. You can click on it, and then you will see the event section where we have the events advertised with the location description, how you can find us in the car park. We will be in a multi-story car park, so we don't depend on weather. We have slight height restriction, so high vans may be a bit difficult to get in, but if like a transporter is lower, you can get in. We will have a meeting on the 16th of November on Saturday, and then we will have a meeting on the 28th of November as well. Sorry, 28th of December, after Christmas and before New Year's Eve. And we will have many great sound quality fans come in, and then you can check out many cars there. You can hear many cars, so it's worth to come to those. It's always great fun. At the end of the day, we have dinner. We have a great time with the guys. So here we are, guys. This is it for this one, and I'll see you in the next. Take care.